For what purpose does the gentleman from Maryland seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent to speak out of order for 1 minute.
The gentleman will proceed. Members, please take their seats. Committee will be in order.
Mr. Chairman, my fellow colleagues, I rise with great sadness to announce the passing of one of this House's great and good members, former Representative John David Dingell, Jr., who served in this House for almost a full 6 decades. His father preceded him for 22 years, and his wife, our beloved colleague, Debbie Dingell, serves now. At the request of his beloved wife, I have the sad task of informing the House that John died yesterday after a long, distinguished, and committed career of service to community, to this House, and to his country. John served with honor in wartime and with distinction in this House. He worked for the advancement of his fellow veterans and their care and benefits in peacetime. And he fought all of his life for fairness and opportunity for all. He defended vigorously the working men and women of the auto industry and working families everywhere. His wit, his humor brought smiles to our faces, and his fearless questions of witnesses in committee brought grimaces to those who believed they had undermined the safety and health of our citizens. Much will be said. I know that each of you has your own memory of Chairman Dingell. I know each of you will want to rise at some point in time over the next number of days to give your observations of this colleague with whom we were honored to serve. Let us begin our remembrances of him, however, by celebrating the love that he had for this great institution about which he cared so deeply. He believed its powers to be improving people's lives and delivering on the promises of those who came before us and to those who will come after us. May John's legacy guide us forward as we seek to make this House all he believed it could be and all he did to make it so better than it might have been. I now yield to the distinguished Speaker of the House of Representatives, Nancy Pelosi of California, for 1 minute.
I thank the gentleman for yielding and for your beautiful statement about our beloved colleague, John Dingell. Mr. Chairman, again, as you mentioned, last night our nation lost a beloved pillar of this Congress and one of the greatest legislators in American history. Every chapter of Chairman John Dingell's life was lived in service to our country, from his time as a House page, as a teenager, to his service in the Army during World War II, to his almost 6 decades serving the people of Michigan in the U.S. Congress. John Dingell leaves a towering legacy of unshakable strength, boundless energy, and transformative leadership. Chairman Dingell had a hand in crafting many major legislative accomplishments over the past half-century, yet among the vast array of historic legislative achievements, few hold greater meaning than his tireless commitment to the health of the American people. During every Congress since 1955, Chairman Dingell introduced legislation to secure affordable, quality health care for all Americans. Because of his father's legacy, which our distinguished leader has referenced, because of his father's legacy and his own leadership, in 1965, he gavelled Medicare into law. In 2010, it was my privilege to hold that same gavel as we passed the Affordable Care Act. Chairman Dingell was our distinguished dean and chairman, our legendary colleague, and a beloved friend. His memory will stand as an inspiration to all who worked with him or for him or had the pleasure of knowing him. His leadership will endure in the lives of millions of American families he touched. We hope it is a comfort to Chairman Dingell's beloved wife, dear Deborah, Congresswoman Debbie Dingell, and their entire family, that so many people mourn their loss and pray for them at this sad time. I'm pleased to mention that the flag is flying half-staff over the Capitol in his memory, and invite members to sign the condolence book in the Speaker's lobby. With that, I yield back to the distinguished leader.
I thank the Speaker for her retelling very briefly the extraordinary record of our friend and colleague, John Dingell, who made America better, who made this House better, and who believed that in doing so, it was critically important to reach across the aisle, to have legislation that would have and enjoy the support of both sides of the aisle. And in that regard, I am pleased now to yield to the Republican leader, my friend, Mr. McCarthy.
I thank my friend for yielding. I also rise to commemorate the incredible life and career of John Dingell, the former dean of this House. Few individuals have amassed a record of public service that could rival John's, and I will bet no one will ever match it. 59 years as an elected representative. In fact, his interest in politics began during his time as a congressional page, where he personally witnessed FDR's "A Day That Will Live in Infamy" speech from this very podium. Take one moment to think of a life that this man had witnessed on this floor. John taught us that public service is not a sprint, but a marathon. There are many lessons in his life that we can learn from. But I hope we take that lesson every day when we come to work here. Another lesson I hope we learn is the one how I first met John. He was an icon before I got here. But I watched the respect, not from his own colleagues in his own party, but the respect from across the aisle. They went to John for advice. When he walked on the floor, there was many on our side that stood around him. They questioned him where we thought we could go. But he believed in this House, he believed in this country. He had great passions. Passions for his constituents. Passion for his committee, Energy and Commerce. He loved this committee so much he thought there needed no other committee in this House. It wasn't until his retirement that we got jurisdiction back in other places. But he understood an ever-changing world, if you can only imagine serving that long. And he was able to adapt, which we should learn from too. Yes, the new world of social media, many would think would pass him by because of his age. He was one of the first I would follow on Twitter. And this is a lesson that this House, in a bipartisan manner, should take. It's one of my favorite tweets from John. It came on the day of July of 2017. He wrote, "I've been trying to repeal and replace the United States Senate since 1955, and there's no luck." Yes, we are sad today, but he lived a life we can admire. I may have different opinion and philosophy with him, but I admired his will to fight for what he believed in. I admired the way he treated people that had different beliefs, and I admired the way he believed all sides should be heard. I speak for everyone on this side of the aisle to convey our deepest sympathies. And to Debbie. And I ask that we lift up in our prayers to God for his soul to rest peacefully and to remember what he truly believed. Public service matters. This country matters. And the ability to work together so all Americans will have a better tomorrow. I yield back.
I thank the Majority Leader for his remarks.
I thank the gentleman for the promotion.
The spirit of John Dingell was so present at that remark. Now, John Dingell apparently was not always right. He wanted to repeal the Senate, but then he wanted to replace it. John Dingell, I will tell you, I was with Wednesday from approximately 4 p.m. on Wednesday until 6:30 p.m. And Debbie was there. Your dad was there, Andy. Our dear colleague, Sandy Levin, was there, and John Orlando, who served with John and the Energy and Commerce Committee for such a great time. He remembered all of you. He asked me to give each of you his best, to wish you well, and to say that our country needs each of us to work together. Would that we could leave just some of the legacy that John Dingell has left behind. We are so blessed that we have the opportunity to serve with his wife, his beloved wife, his lovely Deborah. What an extraordinary relationship. What an extraordinary man. How lucky we were and are to serve with them. The Speaker will be shortly notifying us of when the funeral will be, opportunities to go to the funeral. There'll be a memorial service as well here, and probably a service in the Capitol as well. So there will be opportunities for each of us to stand and testify to the greatness and goodness of John David Dingell, Jr. I yield back the balance of my time. Mr. Speaker, I would ask all the members of Congress and all the ladies and gentlemen in the gallery to join us in a moment of silence in remembrance of our friend John Dingell.
All present will rise and observe a moment of silence in honor of our beloved John Dingell. The unfinished business is the request for a recorded vote on amendment number 19 printed